My guy, Ed Prather, joins me. Ed, how you doing, pal? It's good to see
I'm
you.
good. I'm good. It feels like it's been so long.
I know. Well, let me give you this little highlight from the Rockies here while I'm talking about it.
Okay.
And they did come from behind. Resilience. That's our theme, Ed. Resilience. Resilience on the field, resilience in real estate. We'll get to that in a second. Here is the Rockies. They're down 2-0. They claw back. They get a double play in the top of the ninth after letting the leadoff runner on. Brenton Doyle, who's had a fantastic year, singles to lead off the bottom of the ninth, steals second. They walk Ryan McMahon to force a double play. Brendan Rodgers hits a slowly hit ball to second base. They have to turn a quick double play, and the shortstop makes his third error of the year, throwing the ball away, and Brenton Doyle jogs home for the win.
Right now, I can hear you breathing heavy. How much fun was that one to win?
Oh man, in-division game against the D-backs. I mean, we struggled against them all year. So to finally, put one together and get a win against them is huge.
You stole second base. That was a really important play for you. How important has been stealing bases for you over the course of this year?
It's huge. I mean, speed's one of my, strong suits, so I try to use it whenever I can, and it benefited us tonight.
How about ice? Do you like ice?
I don't get ice. B-Rod gets ice.
Right now we're negotiating with Charlie Blackman on who should get the ice.
All right, Charlie. Just give it to me.
Good job. Thanks, Charlie.
I love it. I mean, shoot, it's the small wins, right? I mean, even if now we're just trying to not hit that triple-digit mark. I love it.
Yeah, it's something about. Well, we'll see what they do. Let me go. So they're 58 and 93. So how's my math? One carry the 151 games. So they've got 11 games left. And you got 11 games left, and you can't lose 7 games.
Yeah, so you have to go 5 and 6.
5 and 6, right? So now you don't even have to be 500. You can actually go a game under 500. And there is something to resilience and not giving up. And the Rockies, I get it how bad they are, but Ed, you're going to be blown away by this. They've won 4 of their last 5. They won the series against Chicago. They beat a playoff-worthy team in Arizona just last night. They beat Detroit in Detroit. They won the series against Milwaukee recently. They've actually won 7 of their last 11. I mean, they're 7-4 in their last 11 games, Ed. That's the Rockies for you, pal. I know nobody gives a crap, but I'm just bringing up, exactly what's going on.
If we could, and it's consistency and everything else. But, I'm a big proponent for, hey, if we're out there, let's try hard and let's care whether it's the, 150th game or the first. But I'm sure you've been talking about it all week. You asked me how I was feeling, and I am disappointed, and I'm sure you know why.
About the Broncos.
I was just looking at the stat line, especially for Seattle. Got cleaned up a little bit last week just because of those couple of those heaves. But it's like I'm not sure I've ever seen anything like a 26 for 42 for 140 something yards. Is that coaching? Is that Bo? I mean, I'm sort of how can we not unlock any kind of offense ever in the last 9 years? I don't get it.
Here's what's disturbing. When you look at the Saints, their longtime play caller, who was with them forever with Sean Payton, his name is Pete Carmichael.
Okay.
They fired him. I mean, he was with the Saints for 19 years. And they fired him and Clint Kubiak, who used to work for the Broncos, dad's Gary Kubiak. He's their new offensive play caller. They've scored they are the highest scoring team in the NFL through the first 2 weeks.
How can you not notice what's happening there? It's crazy.
Well, we are. And the problem is, They ditched the Sean Payton system for something different, and we've got Sean Payton. So what if the problem is antiquated coaching, not Bo Nix? Now what do you do?
Well, I think that we're in a similar situation, as the last few years. It just looks a little bit different, where we go in for these, like, what we think are big chips and think it's going to be a cure-all. And it's like, are we starting off a passing progression with swing passes every down? It's frustrating for all of us, I'm sure, but I don't know. I guess I don't know the sport well enough to say, like, hey, here's what you do. If you look at the tape, are you getting the kind of room on crossing routes and deeper routes? I saw a couple overthrows where it looked like they were open, but it's 0 and 2, that sparkle has faded a little bit. I love my Broncos. I always will, but it's a bummer.
Yeah, I think first of all, you wanted to see progression from week 1 to week 2. And I don't think there's much of that.
No.
Then you just don't want your team, if they're going to suck, at least be interesting. And what you're seeing now out of the Broncos is just how boring they are. And it's just brutal. And then what I did not expect, and I had not seen in preseason and training camp, are kind of, just bad mistakes, like the interception in the end zone. Although there may be mitigating factors there, Ed. A lot of times it looks like it's purely on the quarterback, but you don't know if everybody ran their routes the same way. You don't know if the blocking held up the way it was supposed to, but the coaches do. The coaches know exactly what's going on.
Right.
So I would expect to see some significant changes ahead of the Bucs game. But I'll tell you this, Ed, and you've been a lifelong Broncos fan, the Denver Broncos playing in Florida in September is just terrible. And I actually think it is because of our geography and our altitude.
It's so hot and humid still, isn't it, down there?
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
it is.
Quite a bit different from the dry air here and the brisk fall. And
later in the year, it's kind of okay, kind of whatever. But September can be, I cannot believe in back-to-back years they have to play in September in Florida.
Well, and Tampa Bay looks pretty good.
Unfortunately.
Baker cooled down a little bit this last week. And so, I guess I have to say a strong suit, and we've had this narrative for so many years, is, the defense, you hold a team to 13 points or whatever it was, like, you should win.
No doubt about it.
To win. And then you have, the offensive-minded coach, and just like you spoke about, you just kind of wonder, like, what is it? And I look at it the same way, where it looks like a running game is just like non-existent. But if you don't have a passing game, how do you open up the run? So I'm hopeful, and it is what it is. I hate to say it, and just like you said, my hope is that we see progression. The season is not lost. I'd love to see a little bit, and I love the flea flicker. Some of the stuff they're doing. Open it up because this style of football. It's just, we don't have a Tyreek Hill, who's going to take it 80 yards on a swing pass, so we'll see.
We'll see. You got to be resilient, though. You can't give up. And that is the same in real estate. You can't give up. I just saw a news story on CBS where they're tracking a wannabe homeowner in New Jersey who's made 30 offers. And just is getting outbid. And you know what? They're saying millennials are getting outbid by empty nesters for the same properties with homes because the rates are starting to go down a little bit, Ed. Absolutely. And when rates go down, inventory becomes limited, right?
Well, absolutely. And we've talked in the past, this market, and I think nationally, it's very rate sensitive. So we've talked about the rates themselves, which are absolutely starting to go down, and then the news around rates. And so this is a really big week. And you're right, as rates go down, inventory goes down. But we've been for a couple of months now above sort of that 10,000 active units on the market. And we haven't seen that for well over 10 years.
Okay.
And so what we're really interested in now is, as soon as rates come down meaningfully, and that is beginning to happen, what happens with absorption? And I think the feeling is, because the truth of it is we're still in a housing shortage, you're going to see absorption eat up a lot of that inventory very quickly. And come next spring, there's going to be folks that go, gosh, I had 10,700 homes to choose from, and now that's like 6,000, and now that's incredibly difficult to get your offer accepted if you don't have big down payments. And you're right, the empty nesters, in many cases, you've sold a home, you got a big chunk to put down. Of course, that's going to be more attractive to a seller than someone with a minimum down payment.
But this is why, and can you believe it was a year ago, basically today, Ed, I got blown out of the last place. And, I remember I did call. Yeah. Well, it's the anniversary is actually tomorrow, but, and you were one of the first people I actually called that day. You were, and it was like, Ed, it happened. And we knew that, but I think the key, first of all, you and I had been talking about it literally for more than 2 years. It was a lot, to the degree, and I've told you this before, that I was like, I would tell Kim, my wife, I'm like, I don't think Ed believes me because, I keep saying this stuff and we're not doing anything. But no, I was always being honest about what we had planned to do. And I think it's because we had this conversation for so long, and your advice was fascinating. You're like, hey man, let's hang on for a little bit, because now isn't the exact right time if we can. Do you remember that? Do you remember those conversations you had with me?
I remember the conversation, this conversation at the dinner table, at your home. And I think we owe that to our clients, and there is some objective truth when you just look at sort of the economics of things. And to that point, we've got a lot of people holding at this very moment. Not months, not even weeks, but because tomorrow we get the cut. We have been talking about this for, my friends at this point got to be like, okay, we get it. But the cut's going to come tomorrow. And the difference, I think, between 25 basis points and 50 basis points is huge. And what we're talking about is the Fed making a cut to the federal funds rate, which correlates with borrowing getting cheaper. Right now, the feeling is that it's sort of 50-50. It could go either way. But if it goes with that bigger cut, you will see a huge pop in activity, because again, folks are really rate sensitive, and that would really show a lot of optimism around rates coming down. So that hold pattern, just like it did a year ago, sometimes it's the makes the most sense.
All right. But this is why I'm telling you to just start a conversation with Ed, Prather.com. I know a lot of people say, I can't do it, I don't know. Just call, just reach out. That's it.
Absolutely.
And just start a relationship with somebody that I trust and work for me, and that, we love here with Kill You with Truth, and who's going to do right by you. And it doesn't have to happen overnight. Ed and his team will work with you patiently throughout the entire process. That's what you take pride in.
Well, absolutely. And I think you make a good point, because, for one, every situation's different. And if nothing else, I think what we really focus on and really love is just providing context, providing information. It's hard to look through a crystal ball, but we can talk about, hey, this is what we're seeing. And if your goals are X, Y, and Z, hey, here are our options. And that doesn't need to be tomorrow. This doesn't need to be a fire drill. And we look at it as, buying or selling a home already is stressful enough. We want to make it easier and simpler. And a big part of that is starting the conversation sooner, and just, hey, what are the goals, so we know them and we can get ahead of them and do our best to hit them.
All right, pal. I'll talk to you next week. You're the best. Let's see what happens tomorrow. And we take it from there. See you, pal. I'll see you, Ed.
All right. See you, dude.